Oh, Saul Canelo Alvarez yet again victorious, adding the WBO super middleweight title to his collection after defeating Billy Joe Saunders, who was retired by his corner at the end of the eighth round. And I say retired by his corner because that's what we've been told by Eddie Hearn, and that's what I've got to go with at this stage until we know more. I know that there's rumours that he's fractured his orbital. He's obviously on his way. He's on his way, or has gone to the hospital, and he's there now. By the time I finish this video, the fact of the matter is, quite simply, if he quit, he quit. If he didn't and his corner pulled him, they did the right thing, because there was no point going on. He was down on the scorecards. It's hard enough fighting Canelo with two eyes, let alone one. And considering a fractured orbital, if anyone's ever had that, then yeah, you know, you guys know the damage. I've fractured my cheekbone, and yeah, I think some people just don't know because they've never been there, they've never experienced adversity. And Billy Joe got his way through the round, but as soon as it happened, I just knew that that was it, game over. As I say, Billy Joe, it's hard enough for him to fight Canelo with two eyes, let alone with one, and the pain that would have been causing as well. It's not just losing the vision of the eye, it's the pain as well, and what it can do to the brain. As Daniel Dubois, doctor who dealt with his eye damage, said, that can cause a lot of problems. I don't personally think we'll ever see Billy Joe Saunders ever box again. That's just a personal opinion. I said that part of the way through the fight. I just don't think he would. I just don't see it. I don't think he'll ever fight again. I think that is it. I think he knew that was all he had. And look, at the end of the day, if he's quit, he's quit. People talk the good game, then they've got to deliver the game. The fact of the matter is, for me, for all intents and purposes, I thought performance. Let's get on to the fight. Let's get on to the fight. I felt that early on, I felt that Billy Joe was struggling with the speed and sharpness of Canelo. I felt that Canelo was covering the distance a little bit quicker than normal, but also he was covering the distance by leaping in. Now he does do this. This isn't anything new. Pardon me, but it's not nothing. It's not nothing new, but he was doing it in such a way tonight. He was covering that distance rapidly by leaping in and shooting the left hook to the body as Billy Joe moved anti-clockwise. He was hitting that right side of the rib cage, he was ripping it in, and Billy Joe was getting caught with it continually. Billy Joe doesn't defend his body. He uses his legs as defense. He doesn't use a lot of glove defense to defend the body, and he doesn't particularly pick it off with the elbows neither. Billy Joe was overreacting. He was giving up a little bit too much ground. He was getting caught towards the ropes at times, and he was dipping his head. When he was dipping his head to the left, what he normally does against like Lemieux and other fighters, they go head hunting. He wanted Canelo to head hunt, but what happened was Canelo was going down to where he was dipping over and shooting the right uppercut. Now that right uppercut would play into the main significant part of the fight as we went on. Southpaws tend to do that. They tend to dip over and crouch like a shoulder roll, but they shift over to their left, to the orthodox opponent's right hand. And that's what they tend to do. Now, he was doing it continually and getting away with it at times because he was either getting caught in the chest, or it was just missing, or he was managing just to block it with his gloves or catch some of it with his gloves and a little bit with his face. But in the end, it was where he kept doing it and kept doing it. It was becoming more and more increasingly likely that Canelo was going to land something significant as the fight went on. Now, as the sharpness came away from Canelo, Billy Joe started to land. Now, I believe that Billy Joe's offense was better than his defense tonight. I felt his actual general boxing was listen, Billy Joe tends to have his hands down. He does become ragged and he fights off a loose rhythm at times. He was throwing the up jab. He was landing some lovely double jabs. I liked the way he was shifting, and he was catching Canelo more than anyone's done in a long time. He was catching him because Canelo was struggling with the range, the distance, the angle, and the speed. Billy Joe was touching the body. He was coming round with the right hook. He was catching him with the right uppercut. He was using a lot of combinations, but short and sharp, fast combinations. But in the end, as he was pivoting off, he was then giving Canelo sometimes those one or two shots that can change around, and that's what it looked like on the judges' scorecard. Some of you have had the scores closer. Some people had Billy Joe Saunders winning the fight. Some people like Chris Mannix and people like that, and then you've got Carl Froch who had it close. But then there's others that had Canelo winning. So it was a nip and tuck affair. It was what you like. I felt that Billy Joe, just in that moment, just in those middle rounds, was starting to come into it and really starting to look like he belonged there. But he got greedy and he went for a lead right hook. And he's always had this issue with his balance where he dips over, as I've said, and he falls in with his punches. And what happened was he threw a speculative right hook. Canelo was able to shift back, and he did that well tonight with his feet. He would shift back, but this time he pulled back and he landed the right uppercut to the eye, and that was it. Because Billy Joe fell out of position, threw the right hook, and then fell and dipped over to his left and copped it right in the eye. The eye damage was there. People say he broke his face, and look, at the end of the day, he's caused immeasurable damage. So yeah, he's pretty much broke his face, and it was a brilliant punch, crisply delivered, and the homework was done. Billy Joe tends to fall in, and this is why balance is so important in boxing. When he comes out of when he throws his punches, at times he falls in, and when he attacks or if he defends, at times he'll dip his head if he misses a punch, and he'll dip over to that left side. He did it continually through the fight. At times he was copping it in the chest, copping it in the solar plex, and this time he copped it in the eye. And at the end of the day, Canelo's the winner. And for me, when he got caught with that shot, Billy Joe did well to survive. Actually, did really well to go under a few of those shots as well. But then when he wrapped him up, and I knew the fight was done, but I didn't think it would be done like that. I thought he'd go back, come out, and because I didn't realise the severity of the damage of the eye at that stage. But ultimately, if Mark Tibbs and Ben Davison have looked at each other and said, let's pull him, that's their decision. Billy Joe can't override that. So all of this stuff about he quit, if Billy Joe wanted to continue, he would have had no chance, because he can't say to get out the way, I'm going to go and continue the fight, because if the corner say no ref, that's it, the ref will go with it, especially with eye damage like that. At the end of the day, the doctor was in there looking at the eye. I think it was a letdown from DAZN not to have the microphone in there, but I believe they've made the right decision, because it would have been unethical, stupid and negligent and foolish to send the fighter out and risk his health. And it could have been catastrophic. So I think they did the right thing. Well done to Mark Tibbs in the corner and Ben Davison. They've done the right thing pulling him. And ultimately, Canelo showed his class tonight. Billy Joe showed that he can hang there and box at that level. But I think it was probably a few years too late for him ultimately at a weight class that's not particularly his best, but that's no excuse. Because Canelo's done it himself. He's moved through the weight classes, but he's done it the right way. He stayed in the gym, he stayed active, and he's done it well. He's done it right. Billy Joe ultimately got himself there. He showed he's good enough. I don't believe Billy Joe will ever box again. That's my opinion. I think that there's been times where he had pretty much retired anyway because he couldn't get these fights. He's blown up in weight. I think with the eye damage, I think his age, I think he'll look at it and just say, no, I've got enough money over my head. I think that'll be him done. He might have one more little run at it, who knows? But it really wouldn't surprise me if we don't see Billy Joe again in the ring. But tonight is Canelo's night. He deserves the credit. It was a good performance. It was a good fight. I enjoyed it. I thought it had a bit of back and forth action. It had a bit of drama. But I wish it had more. It was anticlimactic. But what can you do when someone's suffering with an injury? Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How did you score the fight and how did you see it?